Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and World of Warcraft Classic has been making the rounds literally everywhere, getting as many views as humanly possible over on Twitch, and the hype is definitely real. Now, there's a lot of people getting into the beta, and one of the things that Blizzard wants people to do is to test that said beta. So a lot of people are trying to make sure that the game is gonna be exactly as it was way back in the day. You have the veterans of World of Warcraft Vanilla playing together side by side with new players that actually never played Vanilla before. And as a lot of bug reports come out, Blizzard actually made a whole list of some of the things that are actually not a bug, but rather an intended mechanic for World of Warcraft. So today we're going to take 5 of the most interesting ones that I found off of that list and talk about them in this video. Number 5, Turin hitbox and melee reach is actually a little bit bigger than some of the other races. For as many expansions that I have played, especially on the PvP front, a lot of people talk about racials and races and how to try to make them as balanced and equal as humanly possible. But back vanilla, things were a lot different. What made you special were those differences between the orcs, the gnomes, as well as the Turin. And Turin, back in vanilla, size really did matter. Turin did actually have a slightly bigger hitbox, and they actually did have a slightly better melee reach than some of the other classes. Right now in Battle for Azeroth, most of the races are fairly equal. Some of them, like a Turin, might have a bigger mount than everybody else, but besides that, for the most part, the hitbox and the reach and the melee stuff is basically the same. The only thing that's actually different is some of the passives, as well as active racials, and simply the aesthetics, how you look. Classic WoW is a little bit different in that regard. It tries to really play up to the race fantasy. And I say nothing fits a race fantasy better for a massive hulking Turin than not being able to fit through doors meant for normal people. Number 4. In classic World of Warcraft, quests simply were not easy. Back in the good old days, you didn't have quests that handheld you through the full experience, letting you exactly where to go, who to kill, what to collect, how many of. It really was more a journey, an experience of exploration, trial and error. And after about 20 minutes of trying to figure out what you actually have to do, that sweet success of finally being able to complete your quest, not only do you get experience, loot, but also I guess the journey, the experience of doing the quest. Back in vanilla, quest markers didn't show up as easily, like on minimap for example, so it was really hard to figure out where in town you had quests. You actually had to use your eyes to look around at every single NPC to see what they have to offer. You also didn't have objectives displaying on minimap either, and mobs weren't tagging themselves as, hey, I'm part of the quest objective, feel free to kill me. You really had to figure this out for yourself. You don't even have to read any of the flavor stuff of the quest line. But back in vanilla, you really did. You had to read all the flavor content in order to find out where you need to go. I think the best part about the quest system was just the way that it forced you to explore. It would tell you, hey, go to the crossroads and head southwest of there, travel for a very long while until you find this camp. So now all you can do is just travel southwest aimlessly, looking for some sort of a camp of centaurs or kobolds or whatever mob you want to fight. Hell, even just figuring out what the hell you need to do for the quest, what you need to loot, who you need to kill. You have to go back to the quest line dialogue in order to figure out the nitty-gritty details. It doesn't just explicitly tell you exactly what to do, and it doesn't highlight it, which is kind of cool because it does offer a bit more exploration to how the game was played back in the day. Number 3, mob spawn rate back in vanilla. Compared to BFA, is a lot lower. Now I know you're thinking somebody posted a bug saying, hey, the mobs don't spawn quite as often. That person is definitely in for a world of interesting opportunities in vanilla WoW. But it's true, some of the mobs simply just didn't have that high of a spawn rate, no matter how many people were on them. Some mobs were so unique to a specific quest line that they didn't spawn for like 15, 20, 30 minutes. And it's not really something that was designed on purpose. I feel like it is a system that was designed simply because that's what everybody else did. But what that did is created a system where players needed to help each other and needed each other in order to make the game experience a lot easier. For example, 2 players could find each other at a crossroads where both of them need the mob for the questline, and they could either play against one another, trying to tag the mob, seeing who gets it first, or choose cooperation, teaming up together and trying to accomplish a goal together, because it made the experience overall easier. Bonus, a lot of the mobs did have a lower spawn rate, but even the drop rates of some of the quest rewards for those mobs were even more brutal. Let's say you needed 20 raptor teeth, so you kill a bunch of raptors, and you were lucky if a raptor even dropped any teeth. For whatever reason, I guess you hit them too hard and all their teeth shatter. But if you try to do this quest in a group, in a sense you would make certain parts easier, but other parts a lot more punishing and harder, simply because this is how vanilla WoW was. For example, killing mobs are going to be a lot easier with 3 people rather than 1. But because of the way that mobs worked back in vanilla, let's say you needed those raptor teeth, that means that one raptor spawned, let's say 3 teeth, and that was it. Whoever picked up those 3 teeth, you could doll them out if you wanted, but that was it. You didn't have different loot drops based on each player. In the modern WoW, let's say you need those same raptor teeth, everybody's going to kill that raptor, and everybody's going to have personal loot for the raptor. Everybody's gonna have a certain amount of teeth, maybe raptor claws, maybe raptor scales, but everybody's gonna have personalized loot. In vanilla WoW, a lot of the stuff were more in-game, and you had to interact with the in-game environment, and a lot of the mobs were simply just didn't want to drop any of the items, and if you did, you really had to learn how to share. Again, even more of a reason why a lot of people chose cooperation back in vanilla. Back in vanilla, if your character is sitting down and they get attacked, whatever attack is on that sitting character is going to be a guaranteed crit. Like for example, if let's say you're fighting an enemy and you do a /sit in mid of combat and you get hit by that enemy while you're sitting down, that attack is always, while you're sitting down, is gonna be a crit. It was just one of those things that was added into vanilla World of Warcraft because the developers came from this RPG/D&D inspired mechanic. Let's say in Dungeons and Dragons you have a resting party, resting by a fire, sharpening their swords, or simply relaxing, and out of nowhere an ambush, so the critical strike is gonna land on whoever is the resting party. It's just one of those things that was just kind of charming when you think about it for World of Warcraft and what the developers tried to do out of the game, compared to the current WoW where that would be such a silly and weird mechanic that would make no sense balance-wise. Also, back in vanilla, it was kind of a bug, and it does seem like it was an unintended bug at the time, but people used to proc crit-based attacks with this method. There were certain classes that once they get hit by a critical strike of an ability, they can proc an effect. Maybe that person will enrage and do more damage. Maybe they'll get some sort of a buff that they can use for another powerful attack to, let's say, retaliate or counterattack an enemy. For example, way back in the day, somebody was able to one-shot a world boss named Kazakh. It was a paladin that would use a sit macro to sit down, get attacked by an ability from a friend trying to build up the stack called Reckoning. Every time a paladin got hit by a critical strike, they would build up a buff called Reckoning, and they could use that tremendous power of what the buff got you to literally one-shot a boss. None of these mechanics seem to be intended to come out for classic World of Warcraft, so you guys should not really be worried, although I won't be surprised if something slipped by the devs. And finally, fear, and a lot of people reported this as a bug, that fear increases the movement speed of someone running away. I still remember the days when people used to say that, oh, I'm getting fear to Africa, or I'm getting fear to Korea, or I'm getting fear to Guam, as their character turns into a dead sprint as soon as they get hit by fear. Let's talk about fear itself. Fear on its own back in vanilla was a very, very powerful and potent, if used right, CC ability, especially in player versus player combat. Back in vanilla, yes, when you are afraid of something, or let's say you get feared by something, you want to run away from an enemy, whether it is an NPC or a player running away from you. But this ability had even more interesting ways to combine this runaway effect with damage component. This was particularly powerful for warlocks, as they had a spammable fear that they could use on a single target multiple times over. For example, get this. A warlock could throw down a fear on an enemy and throw a bunch of little small ticking dots. Maybe a curse of agony, maybe a corruption, and then maybe drain life from an enemy. Very, very small hits that did not break a fear. Fear would not break if only small hits were attached to the feared target. So Warlock, with a lot of your little damage over time abilities, allowed you to do damage over a set amount of time. Very, very small hits, but rounded out over full duration as a pretty powerful attack. Fear was pretty busted back in vanilla, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see how people react to fear in classic. And one advice I would have for anybody who wants to PvP that really hates fear, I think it might be a really good idea to roll undead. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know some of your thoughts about classic vanilla World of Warcraft. Are you excited and are you gonna play it? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see all of you in another video.